I have no filter these days. Yeah, it's a fake way of bonding, really.
Quiet.
So,
Did not go well.
and that was like the straw that broke the camel's back that led to my total emotional breakdown.
Thank you, Melissa, for listening to your intuition. My mom being dead.
And Angie.
Just see you next time.
See you next time. Okay, let's go fast. 1, 2, 3.
Unquiet soul. Okay. What's new?
I don't know. I feel like I always come to our call with like a blank mind which is crazy because so much shit happens on a day-to-day basis. So I'm like, how can I be forgetting?
Maybe because it's a Monday and it's your morning.
Probably.
I mean, shit. It's Monday at 1 o'clock here, and my brain is only coming together because I had an interview before you. So man, my glasses are like breaking down. They're like pulling my hair out and shit.
I hate that.
I'm gonna have to get some more glasses. Well, I do have an update for you.
Yes, I would love to hear it.
Okay, so I texted my friend last week. I'm gonna pull
Oh,
up the chat
yes.
because her response makes me laugh so hard because I was like, I knew it. I was actually really proud of myself for intuitively just thinking like, yeah. So I said, so I have a question. I was talking to someone yesterday about what good boundaries you've had in adulthood and how I wonder if because of that, you haven't really dealt with feeling resentful. Like so much of my adulthood was resentful from trying to earn love, etc. So I'm just curious if that's something you ever deal with. She said, well, my first thought was, in quotes, feeling resentful for what? Is that beautiful?
That's amazing.
And so she was like, which after some thought means I haven't felt resentful. And she's like, I can't really think of feeling resentful for anything. So I said, no, that's totally what I figured. So I think there's a direct correlation between abandoning yourself, having no boundaries, and resentment. So because you've been great at not doing shit you don't want to do, you're not resentful. And so we had a little short convo about that. It was a nice little like touch point too, because we hadn't talked in a little bit.
Yeah.
But man, because I resented her so much, so fucking much, so fucking much. Like it was such a point of contention. Like it hurt me so much because I'd be like, "Why, I did all these, sweet things for you," and she's like, "Yeah, I didn't ask you to do that," and I'd be like, "And that is why you should appreciate it even more." Because you didn't even have to ask. I ran around anticipating your needs like somebody who loved you. God damn it.
I
So,
mean,
it was
I like
beautiful.
aspire to be at her level.
I know, but I have a question. Here's something we could talk about because I'm like really contemplating this right now. So I really do too. I have so much respect for her and her willingness to not bend. And the conversation I'm about to spark could make it seem like it's a never bend. And I mean, she has codependent people in her life too. So, every now and then you bend or whatever. But okay, so I was just watching a TikTok. Let me not play like it was some, beautiful commentary, but it was a TikTok I saw yesterday. And it was about how this new age thing of putting yourself first, and they put it like not fuck, what's the word? I had it and lost it. Inconveniencing yourself for
Mhm.
others is causing you to not show up for the people in your life. So, like, some of the examples they gave is like you said you'd be at a birthday party and then that day you just didn't feel like going, so you didn't go. Things like that. And so I kind of wonder what other people's idea is about where a line is for this. I kind of believe you should never really fully abandon yourself. Like, if you don't have the capacity, don't do it. But I would say if I personally was evaluating the situation, it would probably depend on reciprocity. Like, is this a person who shows up for me? And so would it be okay if, even though I've had an exhausting day and they just had this major life event and they need me, not even just an exhausting day, but like, where one of those times where you just feel like you do not have capacity for it.
Yeah.
Yes, I would show up for somebody who would show up for me in that exact same instance. And I hate to evaluate friendships based off give and take, but to me it's not a give and take, it's like an energetic exchange. If you're a person that I know goes to the depths of hell with me, if that's what I need, does this make sense?
It makes perfect sense because I have a friend at the beginning of our friendship, if she would ask me to do something, I was like, ride or die, let's go all in. And anytime I would ask her, it was like 50-50. She would either be like, I'm busy, which I get, but then the rest of the time she would agree. But then the day of, she'd be like, oh, I don't have the energy. And my which I understand because sometimes you commit to something and then the day comes and you're drained and then that thing is just out of your capacity. But the issue was that it was a repeated occurrence. And one time
Mhm.
she actually left me hanging because she was supposed to do something with me and she didn't, and it was something I had committed to and paid for. Luckily, I was able to back out and I, like, got my
Gosh.
money back, but my point is, at that point, I reevaluated the situation, and I realized that energetically, it was not an equal give and take, and that it had started to drain my energy because I
Yes.
was giving to her, and in all fairness, I wasn't agreeing to things I didn't have capacity for. I did have the capacity, but I was giving it all to her. And I was like, I don't know if that's necessary anymore. So I did pull back and like, and even we're still friends to this day, but it's like if I truly am not 100% all in, even if it's an 80%, I'll be like, do I really want to do this? And sometimes it's a no. And so I stopped giving 100% to her all of the time because I know for a fact I'm not getting that in return. But a big part of that was accepting her for who she is because I think
Yeah.
we still have a role in that, but then I have to accept my role in if am I going to give 100% to a person who's not that all in for me? Not really because
Yes.
the people I want to be 100% all in for are ride or dies for me as well.
Well, and I like the way you're framing that. And I just feel like the givers of the world are always going to have people ready to take,
Yeah.
And like, it's our job to discern where our energy is best served, obviously to ourselves first, which is the first thing I would preach to anyone. So, by all means, if you don't have the capacity, don't do it. But yes, it's also okay for the person on the other end receiving this is where I would say the difference is between who I am now and who I was before. I'm not gonna take your shit personally. I'm not gonna make
Yeah.
it about me. Whereas used to I would. Like, I'd be like,
Same.
"Oh, it's somehow it's because I'm not a person people wanna show up for or
Yeah.
whatever." And now it's like, "Oh, that ain't got shit to do with me." Especially because, like, people have legitimate health conditions and,
There's
like,
just shit
you
going on
can't
in
determine
general.
how you're gonna
Yeah.
feel day to day. I get it. But I would like it to be a much more upfront conversation. The expectation can change wildly for me because I can say, "Yeah, you're a person that if we both can come together for a last minute situation, then we will do that, but I can't make plans with you, and that's
Yeah.
fine." But it just is what it is because it's also okay for me to need the plan because I'm kind of in the middle ground of that. Like, I need plans because I don't like get ready as quickly as I used to, like any of the things. But it also can't be so set in stone that like feel too much pressure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, 'cause then I'm like, oh, I got to show up too, and I don't really want to. But I think the reason I've been thinking about this so much is because I definitely have people who, well, like my brother, I've talked to you about that a lot,
Yeah,
like it was like every day was the same conversation. I can't be responsible for you. And that is frustrating. And then just other conversations where I've had to tell people, I can't be responsible for you. And so I've also, like, there are people who need emotional support, but it's like, well, you would not show up for me. If
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that, you're not somebody I can go to for emotional support. That's really where I'm at, is I don't have extra energy to just be giving to people who aren't energetic matches. Like if we couldn't have this kind of conversation where I feel lit up, then you also can't then come to me and drain my life
yeah,
force, which is my energy. Like when I'm giving that emotional support, especially when I don't want to be, drain. Drain, drain,
yeah,
drain. Now for your people, you show up and you hear and whatever, but there's no, like, resentment there because those are your people.
exactly.
But would it be okay if it was your people and you just didn't have the energy? What would that be?
That's a good question because I feel like I would be more inclined to give when I didn't have the capacity for those people.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Would
that's right or wrong, but
Right, 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 and I think I would too, but how long? Every time? I mean, especially, like, if they were going through a crisis, whatever, but
yeah. Yeah, it's hard to say because I think there are exceptions, right? Because if someone is like going through an acute crisis, yeah, maybe you do have to support them when you don't have the capacity. But if it's like this ongoing thing, it may be worth setting a boundary like, "Hey, I just can't handle this conversation today. How about tomorrow?"
yeah, yeah. Well, that was one of the things the video touched on was, it was real sarcastic too. It was a skit basically, but the person was like, "Yeah, you're trauma dumping and da 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 da." And I'm like, "Okay, that's so fucking unfair though, because there are people who are not don't deserve to get and sit and dump all their shit onto someone. Like what
Yeah.
oftentimes those are the people who never show up for somebody else."
No, agree. Like the true trauma dumpers.
Yes. Yeah, so I was like, "Why am I feeling attacked?" I mean, I don't tell like, I have problems actually sharing my shit, so, like, it's not me, but I was like, "What the fuck? This is such a overgeneralized take." Like, there's so much nuance involved in when you decide to show up for someone and when you don't.
Yeah. Did you save the clip? I would be curious because also I think some people also are just like actually I'll just specifically say, like I had this issue with my mom. She would always emotionally dump on me, but whenever I needed to like vent or whatever to her, like she just didn't even want to hear it. And so I think there's also like extremes where like you just don't even want to be involved in someone else's like quote unquote drama when it's really like being that emotional support for someone else.
Yeah, well, and especially with emotionally immature parents because they view you as a direct extension and reflection of themselves. So that instinct to want to rescue kicks in because you don't want to feel the pain. And so, like, you just have to dismiss all of it to dismiss your own shit. Then, and then even like with friends, I have definitely had people be like that in the past and just be like, this is so confusing because I don't understand why this is hard for you to listen to. You know what I mean? I mean, there are some things like if a friend was going through like losing a family member or something like that, it is an energetic drain to be a support to that because they're in deep pain and if you're living your life right, you are too because you're in that with them. You're allowing
Yeah.
yourself to hold the space for both of you. And so, you know, yeah, I bet I didn't save that because it really pissed me off. Like, I
Yeah.
probably even brought
No,
the
I
fucking
know.
thing in
And
here because
then
it made me so mad. But it also did make me question, like, is there a line? Should there be a line? What is the line? Like, I don't know why I get around well, it's that Virgo shit where, I like rules, you know, like, I like
No.
cut and dry things, and sometimes the polarity just freaks me out, and I'm like, "Ew, but you have to choose a side, you have to have a side."
Yeah, I think there's a huge gray area here, though.
I know.
And
Yeah, but I
also,
do think
so much of
energetic can
this is
happen.
situational. Yeah, and I like how you are describing it as energy because when you first started talking, even though I did have an opinion, it still felt very transactional, but on an energetic level it is, and I don't disagree with that because you can't be energetically giving to people because to your point earlier, there's always people who are gonna take. So, there does have to be some kind of energy flow that ultimately is a transaction.
Yeah. Even, like, I've thought about this in terms of, like, how I prefer to communicate versus how other people prefer to communicate.
Yeah,
Like, I really don't like phone calls very much
I
anymore.
don't either.
Mostly, I think because 'cause I'm never really, like, alone in my house sitting still. I don't mind phone calls in the car if I'm alone, but, like, I just I don't know, it takes some, like, more energy. I prefer texting. I could have a full-blown conversation with text, but, like, you know, having I don't know, it's just a lot of, factors into the phone call thing, but I know people who prefer phone calls. I prefer text, so we just don't communicate because
Yeah,
before I would have made the effort to do the phone calls, but I don't because you're not making the effort to text. So, like, you know what
uh,
I'm saying? Like,
I know
well,
exactly what you're
we
saying because
just
it's
won't talk,
like
honey. That's
we have
fine.
we have different methods of communication. I'm meeting you at yours, but you're not meeting me at mine.
Right, and I, like, don't like to do things like that because it feels too much like the older versions of me, but it's how I have to go, "What should I do in this situation?" I'm not trying to be a petty bitch. I'm just like, you know, I'm constantly evaluating how much to give in any situation because my tendency is always going to be to overgive,
Same.
always, and live in a resentful place. So I'm just trying to avoid resentment because I don't want to live like that. But so each of these little things, it's like, oh, okay, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it the way you want to do it. You don't want to do it the way I want to do it. So we just won't do it. That's fine. Like, I guess see ya whenever I see ya. I don't know. But I would call more if there was any effort to communicate the way I want to communicate, you know? But
But did you
also,
ever like, for instance, is there a specific person that was like that? They liked phone calls and you like text?
mhm,
Did you ever have this conversation with them?
probably not super directly.
Yeah,
Probably
but I
not,
think it
like,
requires that though.
addressing the issue, just
Yeah,
more like, "Yeah, I don't really like" you know what I mean?
because it may be
It's
helpful
not it
just
doesn't
to
bother me enough to fix it. So,
okay,
like it's one of the pieces of a puzzle for
okay.
really
Well, also, like, you are direct enough in general to have that conversation, so
well,
if
this
you
is where
wanted
I
to.
get in trouble because
Oh.
like, my friend that we've been talking about with the boundaries, you remember how a couple weeks ago I asked you, several weeks, if you ever because you are a direct person and can like how if it ever hurt your feelings or you felt offended by somebody else being direct and you're like, not really. And that was like a struggle that I have really had my
Yeah,
whole life with it, like if you didn't sugarcoat it, don't talk to me. Well, the friend that I've been talking to you about, her directness is something I really fucking appreciate now because that's the level I wanna communicate at, but before, oh god, my feelings were hurt all the time because I'd be like, "You could have said that so much sweeter."
I
Well,
know.
there are people who are so used to me pussyfooting around a situation and trying to make them comfortable when I'm expressing a boundary or an issue or whatever, and I don't want to waste all that fucking time or energy anymore. So I'd rather just be like, yeah, this really kind of bothers me. And I know that half of the reason is because of this, which is all me. But I'd like to just talk about it. You know, I'd like to hear what your perspective is or whatever. Well, Angie, I have surrounded myself with emotionally unavailable people my whole life so that we didn't have to have uncomfortable
Yeah.
conversations like that. Okay. I think I start to feel like I'm walking on eggshells and I can recognize that that's how they feel too, but they're doing it because they don't want me to say something directly versus I'm doing it because it gets very tense and quiet and then you start ignoring me for months. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm
Yeah.
trying to avoid a conflict. You're just trying to avoid a conversation, you know? Like that's how I feel anyway. And so I can recognize both of our experiences are valid, but it's like, well, it's getting a little too hard to maintain,
Yeah.
you know? But then I also feel like I'm being immature, but I also feel like not everybody's meant to be in every phase of your life. So I'm kind of just okay with, checking in, whatever. I would like a little outside connection sometimes, but I've just, the year of the snake, we've shed. Okay, we've shed. And I spent a lot of time alone. So
What is next year?
horse.
Ooh. So what does
Yeah.
that mean?
From what I understand, I'm not like guru, but first of all, the worse your 2025 was, the better your 2026 is supposed to be.
Okay, good. Whew.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And the horse is like movement, action, change, like the good things that
Oh,
we've been
I could
waiting
see that,
for.
like,
So,
galloping and
yes, yes. So, please.
have you ever seen those memes where it's, like, a character on a phone and it's like, "I'm calling to make sure I'm signed up for the blessings package and not the trials and tribulations package for next year?"
Yes, and
That's
you know
how
what's
I feel,
wild?
like, I need to make sure I'm not on the trial and tribulations package for 2026. I need a break.
I have lived so many lifetimes in 2025, I swear. Like, it's
No.
been wild.
Same, like, I had a call before this, and I was talking because I went to Indonesia in April, and I was like, "Oh my god, that was this year," because it feels like a whole different timeline, and honestly, I think it is a whole different timeline at this point.
Right, right. Well, I mean, overall, like I can say a few hot spots that have happened in my life throughout the year. M- Overall, I can't say it's been that bad, but it's been challenging and it's
Yeah.
been a time of growth for sure and stress and, all the things. But like sitting right here right now, like I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of remember this summer was pretty stressful. Oh, that time was really stressful. Things like that. So I'm definitely ready. I'm ready, but I don't know that there hasn't been a year since like 2000 fucking 18 that we weren't like, shit, that was rough. Let's hope this year's better.
I feel the same way because my dad died in 2017, and ever since then, I don't feel like there's been a year where I just can, like, relax.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, truly in terms of grief, that wasn't that long ago, you know?
Right. Also, some things were self-imposed, like 2018 was hard because I moved here, and that was self-imposed, but I needed that for growth.
For sure. Well, most of the things that have ever made me unhappy were things I did to myself for sure. I've just been working really hard still on just like beliefs and whatever. I'm on day 4 of my period, so like PMS really got me. Um, like I'm finding like just today I feel fine. It's more like out of the blue for 30 minutes I'll feel really depressed. Like it's
Really?
really weird. Yeah, but it's like out of the blue, totally a shift and I'm like, "Okay, was it a hormone shift? Was it a fucking transit? Like what just happened?" And then I'll just ride the wave and it'll be over. So I'm not allowing any of those things to dictate my day the way they used to.
Oh, yeah.
But damn, dude, it's like really intense when it happens because I'm like, what the?
Yeah, especially depression, because that's different than sadness.
Yeah, it's like just bleh, out of the blue, like
Yeah.
I am really down right now. And then I'm just assuming it's hormones because, well, and I'm sure there's wild fluctuations with periods at 45. Even like yesterday was day 3 and it was still really heavy, which is unusual for me. So I'm not surprised that I'm feeling worse too. But like today's day 4, I feel fine. I feel fine emotionally, physically. I'm a little like sore, but some of that's because I went to the gym yesterday. But like I just, I feel a little heavy, but like Not, like, emotionally at all.
My
It's
period has changed a ton in the past, like, 5 to 6 years.
how?
Um, it used to be, like actually, I feel like it's changed for the better. It used to be, like, super heavy for, like, 2 to 3 days, like, I'm talking, like, super plus tampons, you can't even get those in the store, I have to get them on Amazon, and I'd have horrible cramps, like, just all of the symptoms, whereas now it's, like, much lighter, like, day 2 is really heavy, but everything else is super light.
See, that's how
Which
mine used to be.
I think it's, like, drying up though, is so I'm like it's weird because I should be happier, but I'm like, "Oh, I'm getting older and my period's drying up."
Never heard somebody refer to it as drying up.
That's what it feels
My
like.
ovaries are shriveling.
Well, when I worked in I did live in corporate America too, but when I worked in corporate America and, like, my stress was, like, on high alert all of the time, my I actually started to have at the beginning and the end, like, the truly dried up blood spotting.
Oh, yeah.
But when I quit corporate America, like, a lot of my health problems went away, and so, like, the true dried up blood has gone away, but I still and maybe it's my belief that I need to reframe, but I still have the belief, like, "Oh, my period is drying up." So maybe I should reframe frame it as it's just changing.
Yeah, you should try
I should try.
and see what happens. Well, I was thinking about this morning very briefly, but about the whole idea of, like, womb trauma, like, living out some of that trauma through your period,
Mhm.
like, the pain that you experience and whatever, and I just wonder if, because I 'cause I've tried to be very much like, "We're not gonna have menopause for a minute," because I don't want that. I'm terrified of it, because if I have
Too.
PMDD and I react so strongly right now, what's it gonna be like then, you know? I don't want it. I don't want it at all. So I'm like, "No, our periods are good." And I wonder too if, like, having someone else in the house who's, like, synced with me is affecting me too.
I'm sure, somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, "Okay, weird." Even though my son one day was like, "Mom, did you know it's a myth that women's cycles sync up?" And pulls up some, like,
That is
article.
not a myth.
And I was like, "Well, then why does it always happen?"
Yeah, riddle me this,
Yeah, I was like,
male.
"Why does it always happen then?" Because it does always happen.
Always. Even because it's funny, my period started today, which is 3 days early, and when you said you're on day 4, I'm like, "Maybe I'm starting to sync with Melissa."
Oh my god, I wouldn't be
I
surprised.
wouldn't either.
God, even just transmitting through the damn screen, huh?
I think it's possible, right? We should regroup, yeah, next cycle.
So funny. I started early, actually. A little, not like crazy early, but a little bit. But it's because I'll be bleeding with the full moon.
See, I used to be synced with the moon, but I don't know, I got irregular. I guess I technically still kind of am, maybe that's why it came early, because it's coming off the full moon.
Yeah, when did you start? Yesterday?
Just today.
Today? What's today, the 8th? Yeah, you're still in the full moon energy. You're a red witch. I don't remember any of the other ones, but I remember red. Well, I
Is that
remember white was if you bleed through the new moon, which I used to be, and then one time I just flipped
oh,
and
really?
and started bleeding on the full moon. Yeah, it was weird.
That didn't happen until I moved here. I feel like energetically I'm more aligned with the moon and the stars and
Absolutely.
everything here.
Well, and your life is just different.
Was totally different. Also, I spent a lot of time in the ocean, which is heavily dictated by the moon and all that stuff.
Yes. Anything new related to, like, networking events and stuff?
I haven't been to any in a while.
Have you had any interactions with weirdo?
Networking in general. So, live in-person events here are not like weird networking events because the culture here is very friendly, like, when you meet someone here that you don't know, like, the default greeting is, like, to hug and kiss on the cheek, so I actually like in-person networking events here. When I lived in Chicago, I hated them because it felt like it just felt so ingenuine and insincere because everyone's basically just out to make a sale and you're
Yes.
basically a target. So I like networking events here. That being said, it doesn't my ideal clients don't necessarily live here. So it's not necessarily good for my business, but I always enjoy meeting people and learning about what other people are doing.
You describe Chicago like Threads. That's how I feel about Threads. If you post anything, someone's immediately in the comments trying to sell their shit. It's
Yeah.
so fucking annoying.
I can't stand that. It's like and that's why I like networking through podcasting because I meet like so many more genuine people and it builds your network and then it's just more organic and doesn't feel like gross and I was on Threads once, apparently not long enough to be ambushed.
Loved Threads when it first came around. That's actually how, like, before Podmatch, that's how I got my guests because
Mhm.
I went on there one day because I was so tired of just begging people to come on. And I made a post, and that first one I got like 80 something people, and the second one I got like
Oh,
50
really?
something. And through there is how I learned about Podmatch. And then, it's been easy sailing since. But um, at first it was so supportive, well, because not that many people were on there. So the
Yeah.
entrepreneurs that were very like, "You help me, I help you," whatever. As the space has grown, it's just become Facebook, but people you don't know. So it's like a Twitter really, but like it's the vibe of like shitty ass Facebook, but I don't even know these people. Versus like Instagram is very curated. Like
Yeah.
I can curate my feed, people really like pay attention to what they're posting, whatever. But while Threads, your Facebook posts will automatically post to
So I
Threads
was
too.
gonna ask, like, because again, I think I joined, like, when it first started. It used to just be, like, text, and it was limited. So can you do pictures
Yeah.
and stuff now?
Yeah, you can do pictures, and the limited, you just get around that by, like, going to another thread, like, you basically comment on
Oh,
the
you're
person
just
and it'll
responding to
continue.
yourself. Yeah.
Yes, it's so annoying, and I don't fuck with it anymore. I let my Facebook post automatically go there if it wants to, but I check my notifications, but I don't fuck with it because it's a very negative place, and
Oh, that's too bad.
also, the entrepreneurial people there are just real insincere a lot of times. Like, don't fucking come comment on my post, like, "Oh, yeah, da 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 da, and that's why I do it
Yeah.
this way, blah, blah, blah," and I'm like, "Oh my god, you're so annoying. Because what happened to community? That's not a community, come on, you're just competing."
Just can't even imagine going on to a competitor's page
Yeah,
and, like,
right?
promoting myself.
Well, just or even acting like, your friends and
Yeah.
promoting yourself. I just think it's weird, but I will say, like, I've seen people who think that they can train you to market yourself say that you should do things like that. Like, your comments on people's posts need to be meaningful and blah, 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 and like, really show you. And I'm like, are you the same people sending out really inauthentic
Yeah.
pitches to people too? Because I was just telling someone, like, I'm getting tired. Like, I don't love to accept requests from somebody who has representation, and she was like, "Really? I get great guests that way." And I'm like, "The guest doesn't usually end up being a problem, but I'm so fucking turned off by the representation because they're so
Yeah.
fake. They're so fake, and I don't deal with fake, you know?"
Yeah, because I get it why someone would have an agent, but why can't the
Yeah.
agent be? Because I know what you're saying, like, just their approach and their tone, but why does it have to be like that? Like, you don't have to, like, sound like an agent.
Well, it's the lying for me. I've self-promoted books, I've self-promoted this fucking podcast from day one, all the things. I know all the tricks. So, like, this whole idea of when you pitch someone's show, reference the last episode, reference a recent
They're following the
episode, blah, blah, blah.
formula.
And I'm like, I can't fucking stand that shit. Don't lie. It's obvious you don't listen. Or because sometimes I'm like, if you listened, you would know that this person is not a good guest for the show.
Interesting. Yeah. I know. So I stopped doing that because I used to like prove that I listened. I used to do that, but I feel like it sounds formulaic. Also, that's what I like about Podmatch because it confirms if you've listened or not. So it's like I don't even have to like convince them that I did. Like so I just leave that out
Yeah.
when it comes to Podmatch. So I do like that.
So does that just get sent to me like when someone listens to one of those episodes that like,
Let me look. I know
because
I just noticed
I
it
just got one today actually.
because in the messaging thread, well, this one doesn't say it. Maybe it doesn't say it anymore.
I
Oh,
got
no.
one today that said it.
Yeah, Angie Hawkins is confirmed to have listened to an episode of the podcast. So that way I don't have to prove to them that I did. Podmatch tells them. The other one, I know I listened to this other one. It doesn't say it though. Shit.
But how is it confirming? Just from you listening to it on Podmatch?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, because I used to listen to the entire episode, it's a lot because I've been on a lot lately. So I'll just listen to the first 20 or 30 minutes and I was afraid it wouldn't confirm, but it does. So I think there's like a certain cutoff point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Well, I was
listened to
just
it
wondering
within the
'cause
Podmatch app.
I don't care if people don't listen, I just don't want you to say you did. And I do
Yeah,
want you to listen if you're gonna then be annoying about the type of show I have or whatever. Like, it's also your responsibility to know if this is aligned for you. You know what I
no,
mean?
I know exactly what you mean because that's why I listened first because it's like, do I even wanna be on this podcast?
Right.
Yeah,
Yes. Well, and I mean, I'm getting as I've had to endure a few awkward situations, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna put a little more effort into that front section and go ahead and listen to some shit. And actually, if I have any doubt about a guest, I'll go listen to other episodes they've been on to get a good feel for the things they believe in. And I've even said no recently to a couple of people who I feel like have a lot to offer me spiritually, like to learn from. But if you're living head in the clouds,
yeah,
bypassing, we got to deal with this human shit too, man. You know. And if I can't get a good sense that you are, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no.
yeah.
Like I just went through a list of there were several people that I had thought I kind of think no, I kind of think yes, I'm gonna come back to it, and then I've just left them like oops, like forever without even realizing it because I went through my dashboard the other day and was like, shit, there's a lot of people. But I mean, usually if it's a hell yes, it's a hell yes,
Right.
like it doesn't I don't have to think about it. So I just am like, I don't want to waste a lot of time. You know what it is though? I get a little FOMO. I always get afraid that I'm gonna say no, and then they're gonna be on one of my friends' shows, and then I end up loving them and wish that I had said yes, and then, like, that would be so awkward. Like,
So
I
do you
can't ask
actually
them
reject
now.
people? Because in Podmatch, I feel like
I just
most
say pass.
of the people who oh, really? Because of the people who don't respond, most don't, like, do anything. Very few
Really?
actually yeah, very few actually are like, reject. Very
Oh, I
few.
don't want you on my dashboard, so I hit pass and
Interesting.
archive. Yeah,
I'm on
I
a
don't
lot of
like
people's
that.
dashboards.
I don't well, okay, if you come on and request and I don't hit match or pass, you're not on my dashboard, you're in my messages. And so that's how I'll forget about it because the dashboard's really the only reason that I can stay halfway together on there. But like I'll just go through my messages and be like, "Oh shit, I never said anything about that."
So, I those are probably the people I need to follow up with, but I ain't got time for that, so
Mhm.
I'm just gonna keep it
Yeah,
moving.
because some people do like, I've gotten even better about like I'll see it briefly and like I'll see the message, but I don't have a second to go and look at their profile,
I
and then I
know.
can forget
I wish
about it.
there was a way to, like, mark it as unread or something.
Like go back and mark it unread.
Because yeah, because if I see a message and I don't have time to deal with it in that moment, I have to, like, make a note or something, otherwise I know I won't see it again.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. We could talk to Alex about that.
It seems
I
like that
bet
would
he
be a
would.
simple fix.
Mhm. I think so too. And then the other thing is like, I don't know. I just again, after a couple of conversations that I were just incredibly uncomfortable for me, I'm just like, nah, if it doesn't seem like I'm gonna love talking to you, I don't want to talk to you.
Especially as the host, I feel like you should have the higher standard. Not that the other person doesn't have accountability, but because
Yeah, it gets tricky though because sometimes like I will love just talking about something, but it won't land. Or although maybe it does, and it's just not with the people who are vocal, you know?
yeah, or like, for instance, I know what you mean about like the spiritual people where they're like, there's just like nothing to ground the conversation, but could you lead it in a way so that it is grounding?
Yeah, and I think I do, but like it's more like I have to use some sort of intuition about whether or not I'm going to accept somebody onto the
Yeah,
show.
because that
And
also
so
is like, it's like energetically consuming for you to like
yeah,
spend that much
yeah.
time leading the
Well, especially
conversation.
because what I find, this is gonna sound so shitty. Some of the people like that are real big fucking know-it-alls, and they're not trying to connect. They're
Mm.
trying to just flowerly express all the thoughts in their brain. You know what I mean?
Spiritual
And so
people
you
are
say
interesting,
something and
right?
they get kind of aggressive about their opinion, and it's like, "Oh my god, I don't wanna talk to you."
Yeah, the spiritual community is so interesting to me.
It is. I mean, listen, I love spirituality. Like, I mean, I'm
Same.
deeper in it by the day. I love watching people on TikTok, but I have really had to learn to use my discernment because some of these motherfuckers think they know everything. And I'm like, okay, here's where I have a problem. And my show is called Emotionally Unavailable. Like I am above all, what I care the most about is messaging. I will not promote a space where other people will hear toxic and harmful messages,
Yeah.
period. We have enough of that. That's the reason I'm doing this show so that you can like hear messages that like you're fine and, not all this hustle grind bullshit, you know? But even like in the spiritual community, some of the toxicity is like, well, you wouldn't feel that way if you were enlightened or, like things like that. And I'm like, you know what? I
Um,
am more than enlightened. I'm a fucking human. And that's what I'm
yeah.
supposed to be first in this experience. It's a human. And yeah, like, listen, I've had people challenge me on my show in a very beautiful way, and I grow and I learn from it and I love it. I'm not talking about challenging me being the issue. I am talking about there have been a couple people I've even edited a couple of things that they said out because it was so fucking rude. And I didn't want to lose the audience that,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because I'm like, well, I vowed to not lie, so I won't tell them that I'm not airing because I didn't like them or whatever, and so I'll just air the fucking episode and just edit a couple things because I don't wanna have to have a tough conversation, but, I'm like, it every time I think the reason I'm attracting those people in is to remind me because 'cause I'm so bad about believing I'm right and I know it all and you know what I mean? Like, I believe
No.
that sometimes where it's always such a good reminder that, like, I gotta chill too. Like, I gotta know there's different avenues to the same path and whatever. I don't have to be right about everything, and I don't have to know everything. I really struggle with that, believing that, like, I have the answer, not just one of the you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's my little ego, gets pretty big sometimes, and I always need to challenge it, always, always, and so those people just remind me of that, like, "Okay, you don't wanna be that. You don't wanna be that."
No, agree. Because I used to have a friend, she was very spiritual, she was the same way, like, her way was the only way. But what really started to make me realize, first of all, that we weren't a good fit as friends and that her way wasn't the only way, was because she was all about that enlightened state. And her definition of that, or at least part of her definition of that, was that she wanted to get to the point where she was never triggered about anything. Now
Remember when I thought that was a possibility?
yeah, so Which I think is like in theory is it sounds like a nice goal to have, but the problem with that, because she was shutting out all of her negative emotions, she was never happy, she became meaner, she, like, lost all her compassion, her empathy, because when I've actually first met her in a pole dancing class, so she was fun, we would laugh, and
Yeah.
then she was not that person anymore because when you can't just turn off certain things, you turn off the whole spectrum,
Yeah.
and like, over time because when you're in it, it's harder to see, but over time, I was like, "She is just not who she used to be because she turned off all of her emotions just to be in this quote
Yeah.
unquote enlightened state of not being triggered." And I was like, I don't know. Well, I knew I didn't agree with that. And this is not the only way to achieve quote unquote enlightenment.
Right. I mean, for me, I really was trying to turn it all off because that was the center of my shame was my reactivity.
Yeah.
And so I did long for the day where I did truly believe I would be this super zen person 24/7, but it wasn't until I realized I didn't want to lose the best parts of me, which were fiery and fun and fucking loud and
Yeah.
obnoxious and annoying and all the things. Like those are the things that make me magic, you know? But it was just this one thing, this reactivity where the triggers just made me such a fucking hard person to be around because I didn't know how to not internalize the trigger. And so
Hmm.
it would just come out and I would be really shitty for a second. And then, there couldn't even be an authentic, like, recovery because I didn't want to face any of the shit. It was always someone else's fault. And even if the fault was just because I mean, can you not just get over it? Like, like I'm a good friend and you know what I mean? Like it was
Yeah.
awful. It was not easy to be around, truly. But that's where all that shame came from. Whereas now it's like I would know exactly how to say what happened, why I went there, take all full responsibility that it's all me. This is what was triggered. I'm so sorry. Like the way I responded to that trigger was really mean, whatever. But
Yeah.
I didn't understand any of that, and I felt like it was I all I knew is that, quote, unquote, "they hurt my feelings," and that was it, and so I felt really justified, even though I was ashamed, I also felt like they deserved it a little bit, and that's
Yeah.
not true. Nobody deserves to be spoken to the way I have spoken to people, but it when you don't have the understanding of why you're doing the things that you do, that's kinda where you end up. I can't imagine well, I guess I can, honestly, because even so that was the beginning, but, like, even just not that long ago, I mean, I have periodically found myself in this place thinking, just pondering really, about, like, how different I can or will approach a stressful situation or a traumatic event or a loss based off the fact that I am this new person now, like, or that I approach things so differently. And I think long term it would look different, but I don't think in the short term it would really look that different because, like, I'm a human, so it's going to hit
Yeah.
me, and you know what I mean? But I think it can be almost the beginning of psychosis to sit around and think about how you could be so enlightened or out of touch with your emotions that you wouldn't be triggered.
Yeah. I never would have described it that way, but that makes sense to me for sure.
It's
Because
just
you're
weird.
not even attached to your body at that point.
Exactly. And that's the thing. We just find new ways to escape and to numb. If
Exactly.
you don't figure that shit out, that's all you're doing is you're just disassociating again.
Because people want to avoid the work of questioning why you do the things the way you do because that requires going back to your shame and trauma and all that bullshit. And it is hard, but then you can
It is
respond
hard.
to your triggers differently.
Right. Well, and we're ultimately we're just avoiding pain. That's the thing. We all
Yeah.
of us just like we don't know how to experience things that hurt us because of fear. We're so afraid it's going to hurt just as bad as the first time that we experienced it.
Yeah.
And it's not. Like I'm constantly saying to people, all the shit we've ever done to avoid was so much more painful than just feeling something for a minute.
That was my rudest awakening when I learned how to feel my feelings, because I was like, "Yeah, that was painful, but that was so much better than all the self-sabotaging bullshit I used to do."
Right, or, like, what was I watching the other day that I was like, "Oh, I can't" oh my god, it was an old episode of Grey's, and do you watch Grey's?
Used to.
Okay, so Dr. Bailey, she was like it was when she was going through a divorce, and Addison Montgomery comes back from LA for a minute, and she's like, "Da, da, 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 what's going on with you?" And she's like, "Well, I can't talk about it, or else I'm gonna, I'll never recover." And I used to say those things all the time. I remember being like, "I don't have time for the nervous breakdown I deserve." And like, I always was like, "No, because if I take that path, I'm never coming back."
Yeah.
That is a very real narrative that we're carrying, and
Yes.
what the because guess what? You're lying to yourself to protect yourself from feeling, because guess what? You come right back. Like, you feel so much better. You just have to cry for a minute. God damn, how much are we trying to avoid crying? Who cares? Cry your ass off and get it
I know.
out.
Crying is so healthy.
And it feels so much better. I
Yeah.
feel so good after, because sometimes I'm like, what am I feeling right now? I don't even know. I just and I'm like, okay, all better. All better. I guess I just needed to express. I don't know what it was, but it's out.
Yeah,
So
that's just it.
great.
Sometimes I don't even know why I cry. It doesn't
Yes.
matter, but it doesn't matter. It feels
No, it
good.
doesn't. Yes, I feel so much better. It's like working out. Like, I couldn't tell you all the muscles that got worked, but damn, I feel so much better. Like, yeah, I mean, the crying thing alone, and this is why it annoys the shit out of me that we perpetuate this narrative that only men were taught or socialized or programmed to believe crying is wrong. Do you know how many fucking women still apologize on my show for crying? Like, I'm sorry
For
for
sure.
crying.
I actually just had this conversation with a man a few weeks ago, and he was, like, shocked to hear that women feel the same way, and I was like, "Yeah, because we're labeled as being too emotional, so then we try to hide that part of ourselves."
Absolutely. And the only difference that I will say between men and women is that society at large at least understands that women have emotions
Yeah.
to the point that you just made, which is they're too extreme. There are people who believe that a woman couldn't run the country because we're too emotional. So we accept that women have emotions, but we are not comfortable with displays of them.
Yeah.
And the more emotionally unavailable we are, the less we are like comfortable with someone else taking up that fucking space and just
Yep.
showing how they feel about something. I think that's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about talking about shit in real time and saying I'm struggling, or this is what I'm learning, or whatever it is, because it gives other people more power to use their voice just to say like, "Yeah, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I don't know what to do with that right now, but I'm not." We weren't programmed to believe that it was okay for us to cry either. We were also told, "Stop crying or I'll
Yeah.
give you something to cry about." That is not exclusive to men. So I'm so tired of that stereotype being perpetuated. Every time a man comes on my show and is like, "Well, as a man," I'm like, "Well, as a woman, guess what? Guess what? We were not given any more permission to cry. None of us, because it was like, oh God, not again. Feelings are in the building. Feelings are here. Feelings. Get rid of the feelings, guys. Is that not true?"
So true. When I was little and I needed to cry, I would go in my room and close the door and cry by myself because my parents could not stand it.
Yeah. I feel so bad because I know that that has been the situation in my house at times too. Whenever I was in the height of my mental health crisis, anytime Charlie had any sort of emotion, I was like, great, here we go again. But, that's a great point. And what I was just thinking too is that, like, this is where I've really shifted, is sometimes the fear of like expending the energy to show up for someone is like oh, I just don't have that, but I
Yeah.
really do. I just have to remember it's like it is uncomfortable to hold someone else's pain while you're sitting with them, but you can feel your shit, and then you can expend the energy afterwards too. Like, you can expel it and you can move
Yeah.
on. You don't like I know the fear that comes with like holding space with somebody. Like, because that's the reason we're all dismissing everyone's feelings anyway, is because it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh god, I can't. I can't. I can't." You are afraid to feel. So you dismiss them so that you can very quickly dismiss what you're feeling. I mean, that was the first lesson I learned. And I was like, damn, I am a dismissive ass bitch, which is hilarious because that was the number one thing I felt so unseen from was how dismissed and minimalized and trivialized I'd felt my entire life. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
no fucking wonder that's the thing I noticed because that's what I was so giving. I now listen, I was real flowery with it. I could dismiss you real flowerily, but like dismiss nonetheless. Even if it was just to try to rescue you, it was really just so that I could feel.
I feel like we always end up circling back to the beginning because this also
I agree.
applies to like the emotional dumping conversations.
You're right. Yeah. And maybe sometimes I'm not wanting to show up just because I'm afraid I don't have the capacity, but I really do.
Yeah.
Well, look at us.
Look at us coming full circle.
Exactly. That's how we do things. Okay. Well, I hope you have a great week, a magical Monday, all the things.
Yes, I'm gonna make a note. I'm gonna start like documenting all like discussion worthy things. So like next week I will come prepared with a topic
Okay. Sounds good. I'm excited. I didn't have any either, except the update kind of.
that like spurred everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why I was like, well, I have an update anyway, so that'll get us.
I love that.
All right. I hope you have a great week. I'm gonna push
Thank
stop.
you.
Hold
You
on.
too.